Hi, my name is Imo, and welcome to my channel, In My Opinion, where we discuss creative outlooks to endlessly inspire hope, connection, and self-love. So today I'm getting on here to talk about pacing in relationships, and specifically about slowing down the pace of romantic relationships and even creating one's own type of pacing or structure or labels that aren't readily defined by the society that we live in. Because when you come to think about it, it feels like in romantic relationships, there are labels that we have that are widely known, that are widely accepted. And sometimes there can be a lot of pressure in romantic relationships because when we undergo our relationships, we put our relationship in certain categories that we know easily. And we don't really think that, hey, I can define the pacing of my relationship. I can define the category that it falls under. I can define how I want to define this relationship without it being something that is commonly accepted. So this makes me think of, where do we even get our ideas of pacing from when it comes to romantic relationships, especially? So when I think about it, like, where does this even come from? I think of the media, I think of movies, I think of Hollywood, I think of songs, any form of media in our society. It almost defines the categories or the labels that we fit our romantic relationships into, whether that's like, oh, we're dating, or we're talking to each other, or we're like boyfriend girlfriend, or girlfriend girlfriend, or boyfriend boyfriend. Like, we kind of get our labels from things that are already constructed around us. And then there are social constructs that are very normalized in our society and widely accepted. And sometimes if your relationship does not fit within those social constructs, and you're talking about your relationship to the people around you, then you might be made to feel like otherized or different because your romantic relationship does not fit within those modes. Like, for example, what if you're in a romantic relationship and the things that are happening in that relationship and the things that you are going through as a couple or as individuals in that relationship does not lend towards the labels that exist in our society? Or it doesn't make sense for you to fit your relationship within those labels because either your relationship just isn't there yet, or maybe there's some things that you have to work on first in terms of aligning as a couple in order for your relationship to get there and fit into these structures. What do you do in that case? What do you do? Do you decide like, okay, let's just be friends? Or do you create your own labels and create your own timing and your own structure that makes sense and works for you? So I have been in some relationships in the past where I felt pressured for the relationship to fit into a certain category. Like, for example, maybe I felt pressured for the relationship to be in the category of like boyfriend, girlfriend rather quickly. Either it was me putting pressure on that relationship, or it was the other person putting that pressure on the relationship. And oftentimes that pressure came from comparison or society's standards or expectations that came from the outside coming into the relationship. And this idea of what either me or my partner thought the relationship needed to look like for us to feel secure, or for our relationship to feel like accepted, or for us to feel good about the relationship. And what I realized, and what would have worked better, is if my partner and I really took the time to slow down, work on some of the things that we felt were concerns or issues in our relationship, without feeling that pressure, that added pressure that we needed that relationship to fit into a certain category. Because I think sometimes that added pressure makes you feel really anxious and nervous. And I think having that added weight on the relationship almost causes it to fail in a sense. But if we were able to just slow down and say, like, okay, we like each other, there's definitely a connection here, but we're realizing that perhaps I have things that I need to work on, or you have things that you need to work on in order for our relationship to align, or maybe we like each other and we like hanging out, but the relationship is in such a state now where it only needs to stay there in like liking each other and perhaps hanging out, and it doesn't need to be defined in any which way because we have these things that we need to work on. It would have been more beneficial to us to perhaps keep our relationship in a certain stage for a while before feeling that it needed to move on to anything else. Like if you've heard of the define the relationship conversation, like defining whether, you know, we're boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it is, sometimes that conversation comes a little too soon, when perhaps it needs to stay in this period of like more than friendship, but not yet boyfriend, girlfriend for a longer period of time, so that the people in that partnership have time to figure out what the concerns are, what the issues are before taking it to the next stage. Even if that means dating for a longer period of time, like even dating for like 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year before taking it to boyfriend, girlfriend stage, perhaps setting one's own conditions or setting one's own structure like that would be more helpful than relying readily on what already exists in the society. I feel that we're all unique as people and we're all going through scenarios and situations that are very specialized and very nuanced to us, to the partner, to that relationship. And therefore, what we need that relationship to be will differ from relationship to relationship. And I think it could be a good idea to get a little bit creative and set the stage in terms of defining your own labels and defining where you need your relationship to be, how long you need it to be in a certain stage. I think I am realizing that a relationship can really stay at a stage where it's like friendship, but with potential for more, for even for a while before it goes into the more stage. Like, isn't it better to have a relationship, a friendship, a relationship that feels secure, that feels safe, that feels gentle, that feels peaceful, because you've taken the time to really move slowly and work through whatever you need to work through before getting to another stage or another level of intimacy? Doesn't that make the most sense, rather than like rushing to another stage just because society or your family or your culture tells you that that's what it should be? Doesn't it make more sense to slow down and just ensure the health of the relationship more than anything else? So in a previous relationship I was in, the two of us really struggled because we were from different faith backgrounds. And I think perhaps rushing the stages of the relationship, like maybe defining the relationship a little too soon, put unnecessary pressure on the relationship when there were things that needed to be worked through. So there was an obvious connection there, but perhaps it would have been better to slow down so much more and just really enjoy perhaps more of a stage of friendship with potential, or maybe talking or dating a little bit longer to really work through those differences and decide individually and as a couple which direction we wanted to take, rather than moving into a romantic relationship quite quickly. I feel that that would have been more helpful and beneficial for us, and it would have ensured the health of me and that partner and the relationship as a whole. So I'm encouraging you all to be creative when it comes to your relationships and set your own labels, set your own structure, set your own timeline, set your own pacing, and do what feels right for you and do what feels right for your relationship. I think what I see in Hollywood and the media and culture is that it's just not as sexy to move slowly in a relationship. Like, you'll see in like Hollywood or blockbuster movies that there's some kind of chemistry, there's some kind of a connection, and next thing people are like sleeping with each other really quickly and they're already entering into partnerships so fast. Like, there's barely any real talk about whether they align, whether they're compatible, working through compatibility issues to see if the couple can get on the same page. There's barely any talk about that. I'm wondering if that influences us as people who are in real life, living out our daily situations. We're in situations that have so much nuance and differentiation and variety. I'm wondering if the simplicity of the narratives in Hollywood and blockbuster, and maybe even narratives from our culture that are a lot more simpler, I'm wondering if that influences the decisions that we make in terms of the pacing in our own relationships. And I also wonder about this aspect of being comfortable. Perhaps the lack of complexity with the labels that we see in Hollywood or in culture makes us feel uncomfortable when we're in situations that are not as straightforward, or makes us rush situations that need a little bit more time and care and dedication to iron out and move through. Maybe it makes us rush, so then we wind up in this certain stage of a relationship which the relationship really is not ready for that stage, but we move there quickly, causing a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure that gets put on us and gets put on the relationship, ultimately making it perhaps fail, or just having us go through so much more stress when we could have gone through those stages kindly and gently and lightly and slowly by taking our time and allowing that relationship to be in that particular stage or pacing for however long it needs to be, so that the two of you can like be on the same page or have a healthier partnership. So it makes me think of that. So I am challenging you all to be creative with your pacing and do what works for you ultimately. I would challenge you to shy away from the narratives that we see around us and ultimately do what works best for you and your relationship and the people that you interact with. And I would love to hear your take on this. Are you someone who follows the pacing of the people around you, the culture, the media that we're in, or are you brave and courageous with your pacing in relationships to do ultimately what works for you, even if that means having your relationship be in a type of stage that maybe is not easily defined by society but works best for what your relationship needs? Feel free to comment below, and please like and subscribe for more content. Bye.